What's up, Internet? It's been a long time. Okay, it's just been a long time since I posted a video. I've been stalking on Twitter and everywhere else for a while. But I had to make a video because I read about the Munk debates, which is a series of debates about social issues and other issues. And this is about feminism, and this is kind of the point where I saw this particular debate in question. I was like, yeah, feminism is over. It's pretty much gone. It's done. It's done. In 2013, November 2013, there was a debate that was held between four feminists, not people from both sides or varying degree of views, just four female feminists, under the resolution of, be it resolved, men are now obsolete. Or be it resolved, men are obsolete. Now, I'm pretty sure if we made that same declaration about women, there would be kind of a big hullabaloo. We'll use the light term hullabaloo to describe what would happen if a whole bunch of men, a whole bunch of MRAs got together and said, yeah, you know what? We don't need women. We really don't. I mean, like, they have that ovary thing and that womb thing, but other than that, they're pretty much useless. Sorry, ladies. Now, I'm going to read a quote from what she said from Maureen Dowd, one of the feminists who was on the pro side of men are obsolete, had to say. Evolutionary biologists were predicting that in the next 100,000 to 10 million years, men could disappear, taking video games, Game of Thrones on a continuous loop, and cold pizza in the morning with them. The Y chromosome, as renowned evolutionary biologist David Page told me, fell asleep at the wheel 200 million years ago and was headed towards the cliff. But Page and others have now recently learned that suddenly, about 20 million years ago, the Y chromosome woke up and veered away from the cliff, repairing itself with duplicates of its own genes. Page deduced that the Y chromosome said to itself, I don't have a lot left, but what I have left I'm going to keep. While the Y was shrinking, the X, formerly considered a staid, pristine relic, was growing larger and stronger, acquiring new bunches of genes, some of which play roles in producing sperm. So all those centuries when you guys were asleep at the wheel, we were tinkering under the hood. This is feminist myopia at its finest. Evolution dictates that needed information stays or is added. Or needed information. Unneeded information withers away. It eventually gets replaced or destroyed. So if I was an asshat like Maureen Dowd, I might respond like this. You see, Maureen, for 80 million years, the Y chromosome already had what we needed, and merely chose to cut away the fat. For 80 million years, men were working out and getting slimmer and fitter, while you women kept expanding your shoe collection. If I was an asshat like Maureen Dowd. Because that can kind of go both ways, can't it? But perhaps the most insulting bit of insinuation, nay, outright statement, let me rephrase that, is this, what she also said in the same monologue. Norman Mailer used to be terrified that women are going to take over the world as punishment for being bad to them over the centuries. As women were needed, he said, all women needed, he said, were about 100 semen slaves that they can milk every day to keep the race going and have the earth all to themselves. Well, dream on, Norman. All women need are a few cells in the freezer next to the cherry-flavored vodka, and we're all set. Now, I would be much more inclined to believe you, Maureen, if you weren't making your argument on a platform built by wood harvested and prepared by men, talking through a microphone invented by a man, having driven to your place of work in a car invented and then assembled by a man, and if not assembled by a man, then assembled by machines that were assembled by men and also invented by men. I'd believe you if the fuel you pumped in your car didn't come from oil rigs, invented by men and serviced almost exclusively by men, and if your car didn't get serviced also more than likely by a male mechanic. See, without men, women wouldn't need just a few cells and a male invented and maintained freezer next to their cherry-flavored vodka, which was more than likely also produced by men. Now, that last bit is more of a guess, but probably. Women would have to take over the jobs that men do, and in order for that to happen, women would have to grow as strong as men, which is kind of a biologically impossible thing for most women, and is quite a lot of strength that they need. The other option that women have is to come up with new inventions to lessen the workload. Unfortunately, in the meantime, before those inventions are created, women are still going to have to get stronger. And also, given the fact that the vast majority of inventions, like somewhere in the 90th percentile or higher, were actually invented by men, essentially, in order for women to take over all the roles that men do, women would have to basically become men sans the penis. And of course, there's the whole joke about if women ruled the world, then we wouldn't have any wars, just a whole bunch of countries not talking to each other. Scientifically, it's been shown that women hold grudges much longer than men do, so there would actually be an argument that there would be more war in a world controlled by women than one controlled by men. Just saying. Realistically, women can't live with men unless they become men. Given the society is built, maintained, and improved upon by men in the larger portion, I think the real question Maureen should ask is, if she really believes one sex is superior, maybe she should be asking herself whether or not women are obsolete, since men did the inventing, did the building, did the maintaining. There was a story that, oh my God, this was beautiful, that I found. And I'm going to read it. Short, it's sweet, it's beautiful. Patriarchy has been extremely successful despite its recent vilification. Most countries worldwide are patriarchal. I would disagree with that, but continuing. To find examples of successful matriarchal societies, you would either have to turn to ancient history, remote outskirts of the world, or feminist fiction. However, this hasn't stopped the collectivist feminists from queeping out books and even a hashtag trailing the end of the patriarchy in a textbook example of incestuous amplification. We're going to skip down to the important part. Quite a few years ago, I had the pleasure of watching the Dutch version of Survivor, which is called Expeditie Robinson. I have no clue how that's properly pronounced, whatever, with my feminist roommate. That particular season would have 2 islands, one populated by men and one populated by women. My roommate had been promoting that particular series to me and other students in the house for weeks because it would show us, according to her, what a society run by women and free from the evils of patriarchy would be like. And it did. Here's what happened. Initially, both groups were dropped off on their respective islands, given some supplies to get started, and left to fend for themselves. In both groups, there were some initial squabbling, as people tried to figure out a local hierarchy. The men pretty much did whatever they felt was necessary. There were no leaders giving orders. Men who felt like hunting or foraging or fishing did so. Another guy decided he was fed up with sitting on the sand and started making benches. Other people built a hut that gradually grew and evolved. Another guy cooked every single night. Within days, a neat little civilization was thriving, each day being slightly more prosperous than the previous one. The women settled into their own routine as well. They hung up a clothesline to dry their towels, then proceeded to sunbathe and squabble. Because unlike men, women were unable to do anything without the consensus of the whole group. And because it was a group of at least a dozen women, consensus was never really reached. During the next few episodes, the women ate out all their initial supplies, got drenched by tropical storms several times, were eaten alive by sand fleas, and then were generally miserable. The men, on the other hand, were quite content. There were disagreements, of course, but they were generally resolved. Eventually, the people running the program decided that something had to change. In order to help the women out, men, 3 of them, would be selected to go to their island. In return, 3 women would take their place at the men's island. At this point in the story, the look on his feminist friend's face during the episode was priceless. And you can find this episode online. It's season 3, episode 3 is about when they made the exchange. Initially, 3 men were selected for the women's island, were ecstatic, those 3 men, for obvious reasons. But when they arrived at the island, they were greeted by the women. "Where's your hut?" they asked. We have no hut." "Where are your supplies?" they asked, dismayed. "We ate all the rice." And so on. The 3 men ended up working like dogs, using all the skills developed by trial and error in their first few weeks, building up fishing, building a hut, trying to get the women to forage. The women continued to bitch and sunbathe. This is the bitching part, I assume, is the author's interpretation of their squabbling. The 3 women who were sent to the men's island were delighted. Food, shelter, and plenty of male attention was freely available. They continued also to sunbathe. And that, my friends, is what patriarchy is. My former roommate, unsurprisingly, is no longer a feminist. Now, while this might all be a fluke, a white raven, an exceptional case, not representative of society as a whole, that particular season of Dutch Survivor is not unique. CBS broadcast several Survivor seasons in the U.S. where men and women start off in separate groups. In most cases, the Amazon and the One World, the result was exactly the same. The men quickly got their act together, getting access to food, fire, and shelter, while the women spent a lot of time and energy on petty little squabbles, eating their meager supplies, getting drenched in storms, and generally being pathetic. The opposite situation, where men didn't get their act together while women quickly built a functional micro-society, has not yet been observed outside of feminist fiction, and it probably never will. The feminist complaint, this is me now, the feminist complaint against objectification is that men treat women like walking vaginas. I certainly don't believe that, Mrs. Dowd. and the people who agree with her. But perhaps you ladies could get together and work on coming up with a compelling case that you're anything but that sometimes. And while you're pondering that, maybe you should ask the second question that you missed. If men are falling behind, and that is no doubt, I mean, women now are outgraduating men in colleges, getting more degrees, etc. If men are falling behind, and men are the ones who basically maintain society to a larger extent, how long is it before the society as a whole follows suit? Think about it. I'm out.